Welcome into the Lounge, presented by DraftKings. I'm Ryan Mink here with Garrett Downing, and we are thrilled to sit down with Ravens Vice President of Community Relations, Heather Darney, who is one of the superstars behind the scenes here at the Ravens, and especially with the Ravens' newest project, huge project, the Baltimore Ravens Boys and Girls Club at the Hilton Rec Center. And so Heather was really a huge driver behind the scenes with all of that, did so much work. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Definitely team effort, something we're excited to bring to life, but it's been a long time coming. So excited that it's finally here and that everybody gets to see it now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, can you take us through how this came about, kind of the origin story behind the project?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, it's kind of funny because Steve is so passionate about giving back, especially here in Baltimore. And we are so blessed to have an owner with that type of vision and cares so much about philanthropy. Even though he likes to do it behind the scenes, it's important to get out and do. And he's so great with it. But he had this vision to try to find an exciting space for kids to go after school, and something that, if we had our branding and our involvement, might make it a little more attractive for kids to say, you know what, after school, I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to go show up here, and I'm going to make sure I'm at this club or, rec center or something, instead of all the other things I might be doing. And I think that's important, and that was something that really resonated with him. And as he mentioned this week, he had heard from so many of our players, that Boys and Girls Clubs and rec centers and after-school programs meant a lot to them and really impacted their lives. So I think he had this goal and vision. So Dick and I were on a mission to figure out a space where this could be a potential and a possibility. And at the same time, Torrey Smith, one of our former players who we love dearly, was also kind of looking into what his next steps were post his NFL career, also an incredibly philanthropic guy who knew he wanted to give back in Baltimore. And so he's riding around looking at places, and he had come across the Hilton Rec Center, which was this 5,000 square foot facility that was owned by Rec and Parks and behind Green Street Academy, which is a middle school and high school. And so he found this space. It had been vacant for several years, needed a lot of TLC, but he saw some potential with it, and he liked that the school was attached. He liked the neighborhood association, the community members. He also liked that there was some land and some space. And so we stepped in at the time to kind of help him turn the lights on, really, get some furniture in the space, make sure it was cleaned up, and, bathrooms were in a good spot to be able to have kids in there. So that was an initial investment that we made, but also kind of our first look at the space. And it was one of those light bulb moments where we were like, this is kind of what we've been looking for. A space in the city that especially had so much land and potential around it that allowed us to kind of expand and potentially have a field, which, was also a big important factor to Steve. So, just looking at all these different options, it was like, this could be the space, and trying to marry that all together. And, Torrey, with his Level 82 organization, was doing a ton of great work. They started with some after school and summer programming. COVID had been in the mix there. I mean, it was obviously just a trying time for everybody's programs. But so we kind of got in and started realizing that, we could take over and do some stuff in this space. We needed to bring in outside kind of help just because, Torrey is doing so much stuff. And we certainly didn't want a big responsibility like what we had envisioned to solely be placed on his shoulders. He agreed and certainly involved as much as he could. But that's where we started envisioning what else the space could grow into. And I knew the Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Baltimore really well. Their CEO and president, Jeff Breslin, is a good colleague of mine who I've known throughout the years. He was previously at Under Armour, and we worked on the UA house together. So he was somebody that I knew could kind of work with us on the vision. And I was excited to take the, idea to him. Certainly it's an overwhelming one. It's quite an opportunity, but we knew a lot of work too. And he's been great to jump at it. Him and his whole team have been wonderful to work with. And we were excited to finally, after all these years, kind of cut the ribbon on Monday. We started discussions, back in 2019 initially, and here we are. But it's been exciting.
That's awesome. I mean, over the years, there's been so many different projects that you and your team have led, and whether that's getting the entire organization out to an event. We've done that at Green Street Academy, right up the hill from the new Baltimore Ravens Boys and Girls Club. What is it about this project that felt like this was something that rose to the level of significance that we wanted to invest to the level that we did, both the Ravens and the Bisciotti Family Foundation, to feel like there's all these different areas and all these different directions that we could go, but this one was the direction that we wanted to take?
Yeah, I mean, I think it hit a lot of our big pillars, education, social justice, even just responding to the Baltimore community, which I think is something we really try to listen, and we pride ourselves in listening to what the needs are, instead of just showing up. So I think it hit a lot of those things for us. I think the thing that was the most exciting and enticing was that, this week was just the beginning. I think it's everything to come now that we're excited about. And as part of our research and throughout the process of planning this event, the Boys and Girls Club, some members of their team and I flew out to Denver to check out the Denver Broncos Boys and Girls Club, which was an incredible site. And one of the biggest takeaways was how close the center director and their, community relations team, at the Broncos were, that they were constantly texting, constantly in communication. The center director would be like, hey, by the way, so-and-so just showed up here to play basketball with the kids, just so you know, on your end, Broncos. And I think, having the vision of what we could have with that was extremely exciting. Something we wanted there to be a home base for us in Baltimore, and specifically West Baltimore right now. And, where we could show up, guys could show up and feel at home, know that, they would have a great time. They could have ongoing connections, and we could have an ongoing impact and presence. I think that was just a really big, exciting piece to this project for sure.
I mean, the facility itself is insane. It's so nice. I mean, if I could turn back the clock and go back to after school care, I'm going right there.
Me too.
It was incredible. What was your favorite part of the project, would you say?
We worked with an incredible architect company. Our construction company was great. Whiting and Turner stepped up big time. I think, getting ways that we could incorporate our branding. Of course, that's where my head goes, being there, but trying to figure out ways where it became fun, like the Hall of Legends, that's by the court. I loved the idea of the students seeing themselves up on the walls.
Yeah, I like that. The huge banners in the gym. And you're right, they didn't even have their own home field.
Exactly.
Green Street always had to travel for all of their games, which is crazy. And if the students wanted to go watch the football team play or the basketball team play, they would walk miles to other schools, which is not the safest thing also.
No.
And not equitable and all these things. So I really like that too.
Yeah.
Them being able to see themselves.
It's important. And honestly, that was something as we got into the project and we became really close with the Green Street Academy staff and leadership there. And we learned that. I mean, we didn't know that immediately, but we learned that this high school had a football team who couldn't host home Friday night games.
Right.
That was, how do we help with that? How do we help? They don't have a gym to have, physical education classes regularly. How do we help with that? Mm-hmm. And again, knowing that this is a Boys and Girls Club, but, bringing Boys and Girls Club to the table with Green Street to say, hey, let's work together to answer all of these, predicaments that we were working with in this community. So I think that was a really cool part too. And I'm excited to see how the community responds on those Friday nights and stuff.
What I thought was really cool from the unveiling ceremony was also seeing every corner of the community come out to support the project. It was people from everywhere. It was the who's who of Baltimore was there. And it's neat because, you get the momentum and the Ravens get behind a project, and then it seems that other people say, they know our reputation for good work in the community, and then they're like, I want to become a part of this. And so can you talk just about how the Ravens can be kind of an engine for change and bringing in other planets into our solar system,
I mean, that's the hope. That's the hope of us with being an NFL team here in Baltimore, there's a good responsibility on us to step up in more ways than, just on the field on Sundays, which is still extremely important. Don't get me wrong. Number one priority. But with that, it allows us to step up and hopefully, make the impact that I know our players want to make, our executives here want to make, our owner wants to make. And then that can hopefully help drive some other partners of ours in this space to show up and say, hey, if you can do that, how can we join you in doing that? I think it also speaks to just how great the Baltimore community is, where, there are so many connections. There's so many, everybody's intertwined some way or another.
Everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody. But they also then come out and support each other, in moments like this. And so, that like just supporting the Green Street Academy kids and stuff is going to be a huge part to this. And in the schools in the surrounding area, that means a lot. And that will trickle down to them showing up for projects happening in other communities. And so I think that says a lot about it, but it was great to see everybody there. And it's also a village that makes these projects happen. We are a piece of that for sure, but there's so many there were other donors, there were other partners that stepped up, and that's when these projects become really successful.
To the point about the Ravens leading the charge in a certain way, a point that I was talking to Dick Cass, our former team president, who I want to talk about the moment with him in a little bit, but he made the point that it was significant for us to put our name on the building. And it's the Baltimore Ravens Boys and Girls Club, and that comes with weight and significance. Could you just talk about how important it was to have our name on that building and what that means for this space? Absolutely. And honestly, it was something that I got some pushback on at first. Again, we don't want to be, out there with all of these, naming rights and flashy stuff. Like we just want to show up because we should, is a big mentality of ours. But I've really pushed for the fact that there's something exciting, I feel like, and of course I'm biased, but I feel like about our name and our team that will hopefully drive others to want to be a part of. Like if we show up and we put our logo there, you walk into the building and it says, "Welcome to the flock." The goal is to make all of these kids feel like they're part of our Ravens family, which they are. And, the staff that will be working at the club and everybody in the community, like we're here and we want you to be a part of our family, and bringing in different pieces to that, the eyes above the doorway, which our players are accustomed to, just kind of bringing some of those spaces, I think, here was really important. And, putting our name on the building, again, is not something that we were accustomed to doing, but we hoped that it would drive excitement and, an eagerness to be a part of the club, because we just hope that we get you there. But the whole goal of what the Boys and Girls Club does on a day in and day out basis is incredible programming that'll keep you there, hopefully. And then also, allow you to learn and grow and develop into incredible young adults and run off and do your own, successful things. Well, I mentioned Dick Cass. A great moment at the event on Monday is when we revealed the football field is named the Dick Cass Field. Yeah. And he was surprised with that moment by Steve and alongside his family. Of course, a huge reaction from Dick. Yeah, Dick's so stoic. Exactly. Well, what was? I'm curious. How did the idea come about to honor him in that way, and just what was the moment like when you got to share the news with him? It was great. I mean, so. It was something we had talked about, and obviously with Dick retiring through the duration of this project, he really did stay on, though, with, additional fundraising components. And like Steve said, he hasn't fully accepted his retirement yet. He won't, right? I mean, I don't think any of us ever will. I think there's always ways that we were looking to, how do you honor, Dick throughout a process like this? And it became like, hey, we started talking, do you think that we can name the field after Dick? And we took it to Steve, and his response was like, I think it's a great idea. Just make sure you don't tell him, or else he won't want it to happen. He's just so humble and, such an incredible leader with that. He's the first to recognize everybody else, involved in the project, but he was a huge catalyst with this. And I thought, there was no better way to be able to honor him for his philanthropic work, as president with the team and personally and everything else, and just as a part of this project now forever. So
we were excited about it. We were doing everything we could to keep it a secret, but to, invite his family to come out and hopefully, surprise him with that. Again, we got the reaction we were expecting, but we wanted to have a more intimate moment before it was out on the field and on the stage where we could kind of tell him directly, and didn't completely catch him off guard on stage. But really special moment, and he's so deserving of it.
Yeah. You talk about the reluctance of the organization to kind of pat ourselves on our back for what we do in the community, because it is what we should be doing. And really the leaders, I think, set that tone. Steve Bisciotti is a private guy who's not going to thump his chest, and Dick Cass the same way, and Sashi Brown, and, down the line. And yet the commitment level is obviously very much there. Steve Bisciotti and the Bisciotti Foundation put up $20 million for this project of their own money. I mean, that is a major commitment, obviously. Dick Cass and all the time he spent and all of his influence. Can you just talk about those leaders and the importance of making an impact in Baltimore to Steve Bisciotti and Dick Cass? Yeah,
I mean, I think, you hit it exactly. I think it's that leadership that really sets the whole culture of our organization. And how grateful are we to have that type of influence on all the decision making that we do. And obviously for me and my role in overseeing our philanthropy work, I think it's incredible to know that this is a priority to them. Again, it's a piece. It's part of our mission statement. We also serve our fans. We also desperately want to win all of our games, more Super Bowls, everything like that. And we do everything we can to support that in every department here at the organization. But then we also try to give back within every department of the organization, staff, members volunteering throughout, our players going out on their days off and volunteering and showing up at community events. I mean, it's just part of the culture, I think, here, and it's not like that everywhere. And it's just such a testament to who they are as people and as leaders. And I think it's, again, goes back to, what we should be doing. I think we should be a catalyst in this community, and it's something we've always, prioritized and will continue to for years to come.
That's great. The last one for me, Heather, one of my favorite moments was seeing a number of kids walk into the space for the first time after the ribbon cutting event on Monday, and there was excitement. They were doing everything, just running around, jumping on the exercise bikes, playing in the gym, just running throughout the building. I love the kids at Green Street Academy. Like, I don't know if it was recess or something, but they ran to the fence during the ceremony. You could hear them back there, cheering, and they were excited. Yeah, like there was just energy. And so I just thought that was a great moment to see, like, this is what the space is going to look like for years to come. What has you most excited about where this project, now that the building is done, where this is going to go and the impact that it will have long term?
I mean, same thing. It's about the kids. We're so excited to give them a space that they deserve. That they hopefully want to be excited and come running down. There's we put in a walking path specifically from the school to the club. So it's real easy to find us right after school. Come on by. But I think, just being able to see them flourish in this space, and there's so many different opportunities for them. Yes, we have the turf field. We have this incredible gymnasium that's huge. I would have loved to play basketball in there growing up myself, awesome. For sure. But there's a dance studio, and there's a podcast studio, and, different just work rooms. There's a kitchen that they can learn to even cook in, and, just all those additional things. And I think it speaks to whatever anybody's ambitions are. And, we've hired a center director there named Ashley, and she's going to be incredible in creating a team and cultivating a team, again, from all these different angles to support the kids there. I can't wait for all that. I can't wait to see what they go off and do. Yeah. Because, again, if we're investing in them and they feel like they have support, then they can go be support for others. And it hopefully is just a ripple effect that, we're a small piece to be able to start with. Yeah.
Really cool. Well, the podcast studio was my only problem with the whole project.
I know, it's going to put us out of work.
It's only a matter of time before these kids take our jobs here.
Well, they're going to want you to come down, and you can go hang out and show them the ropes.
That would be very cool. That would be very cool. Well, Heather, congratulations. This is a project that will make change for a long time. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Lounge Podcast. We're coming to you from the SeatGeek studio. We want to mention our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. They are an official sports betting partner of the Baltimore Ravens. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. So thanks to Heather for stopping by the podcast and also for all her work in putting this project together. You and I were both there on Monday. It really was a cool day. And you had everybody out there. You had the mayor, Brandon Scott. You had the Ravens contingency, Steve Bisciotti and Sashi Brown and Dick Cass. You had Kevin Plank from Under Armour. Then you just had community members and kids. Like it was jam-packed and the energy was through the roof. So it was a sign of what's to come in that space. And it's really powerful for the Ravens to have this kind of involvement, and I'm excited for where this leads in the future.
Yeah, I met the head of the neighborhood association there who was all jacked up, and you just felt the energy of that neighborhood in West Baltimore, and I'm really excited for what's to come because it's like I said to Heather, it's projects like these that make a lasting impact, and so it's going to be kind of the home base of Ravens community projects, and I'm excited to be a part of that as well.
For sure. So we wanted to take a little break from the football conversation and talk about this really important project. So again, thanks to Heather and everybody who was involved in putting this together. And we will continue the football conversation. As always, you can email us at thelounge@ravens.nfl.net. There's a lot happening as the Ravens get ready for Sunday's game coming up against the LA Rams. Sunday, 1 o'clock at M&T Bank Stadium. We will have another episode leading into that game, breaking down everything happening on the practice field and also some of the big news of the week. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll be back with you again soon.